Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 7235 Southwest 54th Avenue here in Portland, located on the right side of the home that's as you face the house from the street. Big 4-inch cast iron clean out here, can't miss it, sits right next to where the mini duct, or at least our mini split, at least it looks like that, this conduit here, just to the right of it, you got a 4-inch cast iron clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. Bear with me here. Camera doesn't want to go the right direction. There we go. So immediately dropping in here, we've got what looks like standing water, but we've got a high volume of water going down the line, and that's what I was just about to say. We may very well have a big bunch of debris up ahead of us that's damming the pipe up, creating the illusion of standing water. So we'll see how this all looks once it drains out here in a minute. Just went through a section there with a fair amount of scale buildup in it on the side walls, which we'll take a good close look at on the way out. You know, in just the immediate, the scale on its own, it just creates for a rougher, jagged pipe surface for debris to flow across. It's just more prone to stuff hanging up in the line. But it can also be an indicator the line is wearing out. So we'll see how that spot looks there as we come back in. Transitioning here over to 6-inch concrete. Another spot we're going to take a look at. I can see that there is some kind of debris coming off that pipe joint. My camera's just covered in cobwebs and things right now. We'll try and get it rinsed off in the main here in just a moment. All right, it's located the camera head here. We are out in the middle of the road on Southwest 54th. I pulled back just a little bit from the main there to get my camera straightened out so I could get a good locate. But hit the main there at about 60 feet. Now this is a unique sewer line. I've done over 25,000 sewer scopes, and it's for this era of home, typically speaking, the cast iron will only get about 5 feet outside the foundation wall typically, and then transition to concrete. So generally speaking, concrete, or cast iron anyway, is usually the stuff you want to have. It typically holds up better. Although this concrete's held up actually quite nicely. Yeah, when I first ran through here, I wanted to get a good, it is a really hard one. In the flow line down there, there's just a couple little dark lines sitting there. When I get right up close to him, it's really hard to discern if that's even, what it caught my eye is the potential or possibility for roots. Just do not get a great view there. When I start getting up closer to them, it's looking less like that potential. what I might do is I might bring the camera. Hell, my lens is pretty clean. It's just a hard spot to get a view of the way the camera drops down there. And the shape of them when you get up right close to them is not quite as indicative of roots. Usually they're, not that roots can't look this way, they generally speaking flare out and stick up. They're a little more three-dimensional than what we're seeing right now. Not that it isn't possibly that.
You know, because she wouldn't be able to even like use it yet because I think it's leaking a little. I think the roof is leaking. I should have asked the roofer. Darn it. To just get a bid for what that would be for the shed. Maybe.
For like re-roofing?
I'll have to ask Scott. I mean, he lives inside.
You've got some kind of stringy, strandy item there. The hard part is just getting right up close to it. You know, I think you might indeed have roots. The other possibility is there could be a running crack in the bottom of the flow line. You've got some stringy stuff running through there, and I think, realistically, I think it is roots. I finally got a decent close-up look there. You know, from a flow and functionality standpoint, not doing much to affect functionality right now. And this is a hard one to tell, just the angle that we drop in on that. We don't get a nice, just straight-on shot like you do back here. And it looked like there a moment ago, I think I can see more than one strand coming off of that. I think you do indeed have roots here. Right now, not affecting flow and functionality. I'm going to try and locate this real quick to see where we're at. I was having a little bit of a time getting a good locate out in the street there, so I'll do my darndest. All right, and I just realized I'm in a different car than normal today. My car is in the shop, and when I moved my equipment over, my paint can did not come with. So anyway, I put my locate down. I've got a couple pictures with my locator wand. The pistol grip handle of the locator wand is approximately where the transition joint is at. I've got another one with a little pink flag sitting on the ground there too. From the looks of it, that does appear to be roots coming through. And it wouldn't be the most surprising thing to see, being that transition joints are the most likely joint in a sewer line to get roots through them by far. We're also in close proximity to some pretty large trees. Well, the cast iron here is certainly showing its age. You got a bit of roughness in the flow line there. It doesn't look like it's perforated through. When it comes to older lines like this, though, I tend to, if you're going to go and do anything, I mean, especially when you look at the depth there, that's a spot I do recommend relocating to out of that transition. I'm having a hard time getting good depths. At that spot, my locator was jumping between 9 and 10 feet out in the street. It was even harder to get a locate. So that's one that those pictures should be considered rough before. But if you're going to go to the effort of digging a hole of that size on a line this age, my 2 cents on it is it's kind of an all or nothing kind of a deal. I don't love seeing spot repairs on older lines. You often don't get a great result out of it. Settling issues are very common. This part of the line, though, is what I was noticing at the very beginning. You've got a very, very thick layer of scale in the flow line. We'll see if that persists. That spot there certainly did. And when you start getting scale that heavy, I mean, it's the cast iron pipe material itself turning to rust. A little bit is one thing. When you start getting heavy stuff like this, it's often an indication that the line is wearing out. Now you can do things like descaling. You can always run a machine through and strip that rust layer off of there and see what you have on the other side. Sometimes you'll uncover things like holes that are currently being covered up by thick scale buildup. And if you go through do a D-scale, you have to do it very thoroughly. It's not a quick in and out kind of a job. Knocking the rust loose is not so much the hard part as blasting all of it out of the line and taking the time to do that. So it's got to be done in conjunction with the camera to do it correctly. And we are starting to get a trough forming. Right now my camera's upside down. I'll try and send another version of it with the image flipped over. My auto leveling camera's in the shop at the moment. But top of the screen there, and or potentially bottom if you're looking at the other version of it, you are starting to get a trough forming. It's not sucking my whole entire camera head into it, but anyway, it's one of those, it's the kind of line you can actually get a better view of it from up top here. That kind of darker section run down the middle there is where a channel is starting to form. You got some pretty thick rust scale going back into that direction too. Anyway, with the condition of the cast iron currently, in conjunction with the fact it does appear there are roots in the line there at the transition joint, this is one of those that rather than spot repair the pipe joint, I would rather see a full update done. The line appears to have good slope and grade. I'm not seeing any spots with obvious standing water, although at the start there you could see what is starting to happen with that debris as it comes to the sewer line. That was with a garden hose running full bore behind it, mind you. I mean, a lot of water going down the line, and that debris still wasn't moving along until the camera ran into it and pushed it along. That's the concern once cast iron gets to that rougher point, is it starts to snag debris up. And blockages that occur in rough cast iron block much more stubbornly than your average, you know, line that's in better condition anyway. It's smoother. Stuff breaks loose a lot easier, where in stuff like this, not so much the case. So at the very least, if that wasn't done, I would at least recommend descaling the sewer line, and certainly want to rescope, make sure you don't have holes that have formed behind some of the scale. But realistically, when you're dealing with depths like that, it just doesn't make sense on a line this age. It would be one thing if the line were updated and digging a hole like that, or doing some kind of spot repair by epoxy liner, for instance. But at this juncture in time, that just doesn't quite make sense. So I'd like to see a full update done. And not end up with offset joints, settling problems. When you start jarring the soil in and around old pipe like this, you often end up with settling issues later down the road, and or getting a reintrusion right back through a transition joint where new pipe is meeting up with older deteriorated pipe. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay some flags down on the ground and do some photos and possibly a little bit of a video that just goes over the top of right where the line's at. Where I was at just a moment ago when I unpaused the camera was about 4 feet deep there. Getting around 7'2" or so here right before the line does the dive. So by the time you get out here, realistically, by the transition, I think you're going to be in the ballpark of that 9-foot deep realm. I picked that locate up prior to the street edge. We don't have improvements done here with a sidewalk and curb, but it looks like the transition takes place prior to the street edge. So that root intrusion there would appear to fall into homeowner responsibility. And sorry, this run here is purely to get locates. I know that we've got gunk on the screen. Sitting here talking to myself with the mic turned off. Sorry about that. Anyway, I am recommending a full update on the line, just a combination of the age, condition of the cast iron, the roots, all of it. The plus side is it's got good slope and grade, and being that we're in Multnomah County, I believe that the entire repair here is under dirt. And I'll take some photos here. You can't really see it. The line jaunts out towards the right side of the driveway. That's as you face the home from the street, and then runs up about, you know, about 2 feet in from the foliage on the right side of the driveway over here. From this vantage point, it's the left side, but if you're looking at it from the other direction. Being that you've got good slope and grade, you've got some options. You know, you could potentially do epoxy lining. Pipe bursting, to me, probably makes the most sense in a case like this. Just given what you've got here, especially being that you're along a lot of trees. It's a very strong pipe product with welded seams that I think will hold up very nicely to the potential of roots finding the line. I think that would be a good option, but, you know, do what makes the most sense. After any repairs are done, make sure a rescope is performed to check the work, and you want to do that rescope after the line has been buried, not beforehand, so you catch settling problems that can occur during install processes. If for some reason no repairs are done, at the very least I would thoroughly descale and jet the line out to smooth that cast iron out. Make sure it's being done with a camera to ensure that big piles of rust are not being left behind. If someone comes in too quickly and does it, you can end up creating a worse problem than you had by knocking all the rust loose and then not removing it from the line. But in some cases, when cast iron is deteriorated far enough, it can be very difficult to get it all out of the line. Sometimes you can just sit there and jet the stuff, and it will just keep flaking off the pipe and flaking off the pipe. And if that occurs, there's not a lot you can do about it. It just kind of is what it is at that point. So I think with what you've got here, an update makes the most sense. If not updated, clean it, and that would be rescoping it periodically to keep an eye on it, to watch for debris buildup and things like that.